This video is a review within which we include a little opinion about what happened in the Watts family murders case a few years ago that shocked all these viewers. A family smiling in photos had a tragic outcome. Within this review, we try to raise awareness about the reality and violence that may be present within the family environment. This topic has awakened many moral discussions within its audience. No one comes to understand why the crimes were committed and the way in which they were carried out.
This is about a murder family that seemed to be an ideal family, but everything changed one day when Christopher finished with his family instantly against his daughters and his wife. So, the murders of the Watt family occurred in Frederick, Colorado, during the early hours of the morning of August 13, 2018, after a series of investigation, questioned video cameras, and chats, evidence was found. As far as we know, Christopher was murdered his wife in the house and took both of his daughter and buried her. Well, in a very open field, he also took the life of his daughters and buried them close by as well. The Watts neighbors report that they had not seen the family that morning and no one was answering the door, so they called the police. The police arrived and the investigation started. Christopher was a suspect because he was the closest to the family and because of his suspicious behavior. While Christopher, of 33 years old, was interviewed by the police, he admitted to murdering his pregnant wife Shannon Watts, of 34 years old, by strangulation. He later admitted to killing her daughters, Bella, of 4 years old, and Celeste, of 3 years old, by suffocating them with a blanket over their heads. Christopher was arrested on August 15, 2018, according to the arrest security camera footage. The interview room, he failed a polygraph test and later confesses to murdering Shannon. Then he asked to speak with his father about him before confessing. According to the affidavit, he was having an affair with another woman. During the investigation, he said that Shannon had strangled the girls in response to his request for separation, and then he strangled her in a fit of anger and transported the bodies to a remote oil storage site rented by her employer, Anadarko Petroleum. But in the investigation, the police noticed that he also killed the girls. On November 6, 2018, he pleaded guilty to multiple counts of first-degree murder. As a part of plea deal, and judges ruled that he will be sentenced to 5 life sentences without parole. Then Christopher was fired by the company on August 15, the day of his arrest. Authorities located the bodies of the Watts family at the Anadarko Petroleum site on August 16. The girls' bodies were found in a crude storage tanks, while Shannon and her unborn child were buried in the field. In the visual part, we can see how Shannon shared what happened in her life with her husband and her daughter. Through social media, we can see in almost every part of the documentary film, with photographs showing a perfect family, how Christopher played and loved his daughters, and then the contrast, and how the film shows the series of events prior to the murder, how he began to change in a drastic way with his family, especially with Shannon, her wife. In addition, we can see the investigation shows all the details and how the film shows everything in the first line, with all the important aspects, the names of the people involved in the case are shown. Something important to say is that this does not include a specific narrator who can explain the facts. Those who make them are the victim, their murderer, and the people around them. It is important to mention that the bodies are not shown dead. The content has discretion in this specific part. The timing style of the documentary is really interesting because it combines two timelines into the same screen time. The first one follows the police investigation and everything that happens before Christopher confesses to his crimes. The second timeline shows a lot of background to the case, showing Christopher's everyday life and his apparently happy family. These two contrasts in an airy way that intrigues the viewer. However, the film does not rely on morbid imagery parallelisms. It takes the case with the appropriate respect. It seems airy and disturbing because a case like this should be. In the end, the two timelines merge together in Christopher's sentence. The music. The music follows the visual appropriately, and well, it always is serious and funereal. It sometimes spikes into more intense rhythms, but only when the context requires. It adds to overall disturbing aspects of the documentary, but it does not evolve into terror movie music. When it tries to scare the viewer without plays, beats, or other types of sounds. As I said, the documentary tries to stay as respectful as possible, while being interesting as it can.
It is important to understand the difference between a psychopath and a person who is having a psychotic disease. Within the case on the documentary, we can see how the murderer fulfills psychotic and psychopathic characteristics. Although in the documentary it is not observed in detail, in a book written from prison by the murderer called Letters from Christopher, The Tragic Confessions of the Watts Family Murders, he confesses how the murders were premeditated from the breakup of a marriage and a family environment, which meets with psychopathic characteristics. In a group opinion, the relevance of the decreasing culture of values in our current society was highlighted. According to the evidence shown in the documentary, the crime was committed because Christopher was having an affair with a woman, and before the murder, he even tried to administer abortive substances to his pregnant wife. It is important to be aware of how actions and decisions made in an unconscious manner can generate this type of social damage. All human beings have limits, and it is essential that each of us associate these limits to live in a peaceful and safe society. The documentary is important and relevant because it tries to relate the damage that can be generated from a chain of bad decisions. It also talks about how social or economic factors can affect the mental health of a person so much that they lose their ability to judge between the things that are right and the things that are wrong. In conclusion, the documentary mainly reflects the pain of a family that was forced to go through such a situation like this. It also reflects how damaged our society is and how the lack of different factors can produce these kind of consequences. As a rating, we think the documentary can be categorized as a 9/10 since it is easy to understand for the audience that is not familiar with the case. Other relevant documentaries about family problems or issues that generate awareness in the viewer and the society can be the case of Gabriel Fernandez, a child who died because of a failure in the child protection system. There are 4 of us in this group: Sebastián Mena, Carla Tayupanta, Harley Acosta, and Andrés Gálvez. Thank you.